Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'll be working on my medium leaf size Ficus benjamina. I originally purchased this tree 25 years ago from the Home Depot. It was sold as a house plant, and I've been slowly converting it to a bonsai ever since. I did have a bit of a tragedy with this tree. I had it in the corner of the plant room here, and we got a record cold that year, minus 36 degrees Celsius. And the one corner of the plant room got too cold, and the whole top of this tree died. So what I did is I took a cutting off the tree, and I rooted it, and then planted it over top of what was left of the tree that was still alive. And I combined the cutting with the base of the tree in an effort to get this tree kind of back to a banyan-style ficus style. And it's slowly getting there. Last winter, I gave it a really hard prune, taking it down to the bare structure. And over the summer, it just filled in beautifully. I can't believe it's the same tree. So let's go back in time now, and I'll show you the entire history of the tree since I started the channel. So going back 8 years to present day. We begin the history in 2014. The tree is planted in a large plastic tub or training pot, and the canopy you can see is getting quite full and getting that tropical, ficus look to the tree. By the end of the video, I've got the crown shaped a little more rounded and a little more tropical looking. In September, the tree was root pruned and potted into a bonsai pot. In November of 2014, I had scale insects on the ficus, so I brought it inside and I scrubbed it thoroughly with a toothbrush and soap and water and got rid of all the scale insects. In the winter of 2015, disaster struck. We had a record cold temperature, and the one corner of my plant room got too cold and some of the trees froze, including the ficus. I lost a lot of the upright kind of branches on it. So in this video, I removed all the dead wood. And then there was one branch coming off to the side that was fairly thick, and I was going to cut it off and try and root that as a cutting. And I was hoping something would new branches would grow from the main trunk, but they never did. In January of 2017, there was no sign of new branches coming off of the trunk. They were all kind of growing in the wrong places. So I got out the cutting, and I didn't have much hope for the cutting, but surprisingly, it rooted really, really well. And they were nice long roots. So I came up with the plan of then doing a fusion ficus, putting the cutting to replace all the dead branches on the top of the tree. So in this video, I draped all the roots around the original stump, prepared the cutting with tin foil and bonsai soil all around it to keep it hydrated. And I watered it from above and waited for the fusion to happen. In April of 2018, the roots from the cutting had grown down the trunk and into the soil, so I took the wrappings off the fusion part, and I also gave the tree a severe top pruning, reducing the height, because I had just been letting it grow wild to develop those roots alongside the trunk. In August of 2018, the tree had grown really well outside, and I gave it another pruning to reduce the height of it, getting a better branch structure. Last year, in January of 2021, I had the tree chilling down in the basement. I brought it up to the plant room, and it was losing a lot of leaves, and I decided it was a good time to do some hard pruning on it, getting that structure reduced way back. It's a bit of a gamble, so I took the chance. I gave it a hard pruning. And you can see today the tree bounced back in 1 year. It just bounced back, and it's hard to believe it's the exact same tree. Here's a look at the root base, how it looks today. So I'm really happy with it. It has all those aerial roots hanging down. It looks very miniature, just how you would see one of these ficus trees, a full-size one in nature. Today I'm going to be styling the tree further, reducing the canopy to get that typical ficus umbrella canopy. I'm looking at the tree from the distance now, and I can see two possibilities for styling of this tree. One, is I cut the tree down. So that would be my tree. Getting that kind of umbrella canopy on the tree, shortening it, making it a smaller tree. The other possibility is to grow the tree to that height, filling out this section that's kind of sparse there, and making an even larger, broom style or umbrella style tree. It would make it a very large tree if I kept the same height that it is now. So I've got to think, well, what's the best possibility? And it may come down to what the structure of the major trunks looks like. I don't want to just cut off the trunks again, hard pruning them and getting the canopy to fill in. I don't want, stumps in the basic structure of the tree. I want everything flowing, natural looking, without any heavy scarring if possible. So let's go in and have a look at the basic core structure of the tree. If I were to reduce the height of the tree, this is where I would have to kind of have the apex somewhere around here. So if we look in here, I've got kind of a dead stump here that was coming forward. I was hoping to get something to grow out of that, but nothing did. So instead, from the back trunk, I got a branch coming forward, which is really nice. So this could be the continuing line of the apex of the tree. I could shorten it to that quite nicely. So there is, good possibilities of shortening the tree down to at least this kind of a height, which gets rid of a lot of the top of the tree, and it makes it much more of a compact tree. I've just got to decide, well, do I want to go that route, or do I want to make it a giant, impressive tree? I've got to think. It certainly has the trunk diameter to be a large tree, especially at the base down there. The only trouble is that once you get to the part where I've got the cutting fused on, it goes from really thick with lots of aerial roots to quite thin up here. So there's no, real transition from thick going to thin in the branch structure. Now, if I do prune that down, they will thicken up over time and it'll blend in quite nicely. So I think the major decision is, do I want a really giant, large ficus tree to put on display at shows and have in the backyard? Or do I want it more of a medium-sized ficus tree? I think both are just as impressive. So here's what it would look like if I shorten the tree, and up here if I grew it large. Tough decision. It is a tough decision. Also, the larger the tree is, the smaller the leaves look. It looks more miniature because, you got more branch structure, more leaves. It comes kind of more in scale. So yeah, it is a difficult decision. I've got to decide. One thing I do like about the canopy is that the lower branches are kind of drooping or cascading, and then as you go up the tree, they become more horizontal, and then up at the apex, they become more vertical. I like that in a tree. I like that kind of branch structure. It's how trees grow in nature, and it makes a tree look very, very mature. What I could do is try reducing this top portion, go somewhere in between, reducing the top portion somewhat, and letting the bottom kind of grow up. So instead of, this is the height of the tree, or this is the height of the tree, maybe somewhere in between. Kind of get the best of both worlds. I'm thinking maybe that's the solution. So let's try that approach. Let's try reducing the top, making it more compact, and letting the bottom grow up. And see what happens. See if it kind of blends in and gets that huge tropical canopy on it. I think that would look pretty good. I think if I went down this short, I think I don't know, I'm just losing a lot of good stuff happening up top. Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Somewhere in between. I'm going to start reducing this upper canopy now. So my goal is to get rid of, all these straight branches that have grown, pruning them back to something that's fanning outwards to get that umbrella-shaped canopy. So there'll be a lot of pruning, and I want to get the height down at least to about half, from this section to this section, somewhere in the middle there. I could come in with the pruning shears and just shear the shape initially and then go in and do my branch selection. That's always a fairly good way to go. There's no point, picking each individual branch if it's outside of the shape of the canopy you want. So I'm thinking maybe the scissors. Let's give it an initial try with the scissors. So here I go. So my height is going to be somewhere here, so coming in. And this is just a rough pruning. Pruning to the profile is what I'm doing. So you can see already that's getting reduced and looking much better. Now I better step back and have a look at it. Well, it's certainly got the tree going in the right direction, that's for sure. I'm wondering if I could reduce it more. It's going to grow, that's the thing. You've got to remember that if you prune it back to this height, by next year you get all these shoots growing up, it'll be back to exactly where it was. So generally you want to prune a little shorter and allow for the new growth to come in. So I'm thinking maybe a little more off the top. All right, here I go, reducing it more. You can see it's very dense up here, so I've got no problem reducing it back further. So here I go. Bit of a ruthless technique, but it works. It gets your basic shape established. Then you can go in and do more branch selection after you got the profile correct. Okay, so as far as the profile, I've got to imagine this growing in over this side, so to complete the umbrella-shaped canopy. So maybe what I've got to do is stand back, have a look at it from the distance, and just kind of see if my umbrella shape is in the right ballpark. I'm standing back having a look at the tree now, and I think that's pretty good. I like that curvature to the top. I can see it filling in this side and looking very much like a mature ficus tree. Okay, so let's go in up top now and do some further branch selection. I'm going to go in and do the detail branch selection now. So, any branches that are pointing in towards the center of the canopy, I can prune those out, keeping, everything kind of fanning outwards, getting rid of some of the thicker branches, replacing them with thinner ones that come from down lower, getting the basic structure in check. Right now, you can see it's just dense. You can't even see down through the canopy. It's so full. So that's what I want to lighten it up, give some more light down here so these branches can grow better. So here I go. Let's get some of this branch selection. I'm going to take a thick tip off here, vertical tip. I replaced it with this thin one up front. Take that one off there. And this one off here. Keeping some of that structure, but just keeping it in check. Now I notice here I've got a hanging branch, I'm going to remove that. It's in a bad location. It's blocking out all these lower branches from growing. Now, there's a bit of deadwood here. I've got to get rid of that. Clean that up. I'll come in here with the big cutters and cut the deadwood off. Like that. And then I'll come in and clean the cut up. Taking it back so it heals nice and flush. Bit of a scar on the front of the tree, but I think it'll heal over really nicely. This will fill out eventually. But you don't want it filling out with, badly shaped branches or a whole bunch of branches coming from one spot. You want to build your structure. So if you ever did see the tree defoliated, it would look fantastic. That's the goal. Now off of here, there's a branch that comes up, and then there's a lot of smaller branches growing in towards the center of the tree that I've got to take out. Ones that don't flow at all. That's looking better. And it looks like I've got another dead stump here. Right here. That I could clean up. It's alive down to way down here, so I'll prune the dead part off the top. Like that. Keeping the living portion of that branch. And these are leftover stumps from the hard pruning. So I was talking about, getting nice looking branches. I'll show you down here, there's a bit of a whirl of branches. So right in here you can see there's all these fine branches coming from one spot. So you just want to keep your best ones. Get rid of all the others. Otherwise it'll create big bulges in the trunk in this section. I think it's certainly looking better. There's a lot more light getting to these branches that need to grow here. I think they'll do quite well in the upcoming year. I can see the branch over here is a little long. I better prune that back. It's getting out of the kind of profile. Now I think in the canopy here, I've got the main canopy here, and then the side branch forms part of the canopy over here. And I think there's too many upright branches in the part that comes off to the side. I'll show you a close-up of that. In the structure here, this kind of fans out from the main trunk here, and then I've got a vertical one kind of going up here, which kind of looks pinched between the two, flowing kind of, flowing outwards. If I can get my hand in there, it should flow outwards. And this one, there's a good line coming up here, but this one looks too vertical, and it kind of looks pinched in between these two sections of the canopy. So I've got to take that out. Definitely take the one off growing in towards the center. Get that one out first. And I'll try reducing it in stages, keeping some of my branching. We'll take it off here. It still doesn't look right, does it? Maybe I can keep this front branch, prune it off here. Like that. That's looking better. I'm having a look from the front again. So you can see the trunk structure in here now. It's got a nice taper to it. It's actually developing really nicely. I do see a lot of clutter midsection here. There's a lot of branches coming from that main trunk that are growing into this branch that comes up the side here. That's got to be cleaned out. It just looks too jumbled and cluttered and nothing flows. So I've got some cleanup work to do in that kind of midsection of the trunk. Now, I don't know about this one out the back here. Kind of got opposite branches here. Another branch coming out the back there. A lot of branches coming from one spot. 1, 2, 3 in this area, and 4 the continuation of the branch. So something has to go on. I think it's this one. It's gone. Getting that branch structure set up is going to be what I'll be working on over the next few years. keeping my best branches and pruning away the others and developing a nice branch structure that fans out, sort of a umbrella style canopy. Yeah, so I'll thin this section out over here now. It's just too congested in here. And then I'll have to come around and thin this section out a bit too. So I like these hanging branches down low like this. They look really good. So I'm definitely keeping those. So as we, they're hanging down here. As we get up to the middle of the tree, they should be horizontal. And then going vertical as we go up to the center. So everything here is flowing quite nicely. It's, good directions. There's one growing back in towards the tree. I'll get rid of that one. Let's follow our branch up. It's all looking good down below. We come up to this junction here. I've got 1, 2, 3 branches growing. I've got a hanging one. I got a lot of branches in that area. So again, keep my best ones. I don't think there's... I'll try reducing it first. That works, I think. Kind of gets these ones fanning outwards. Okay, so I think I got to go back behind the tree now and sort out this section in here with all these multiple branches coming from one spot. Okay, so I don't mind, one nice hanging branch coming off of here, but when I've got about 20, I'm going to sort them out a bit. So I'll keep my thickest one, this one right here, which is a nice hanging branch, and get rid of the other ones. I don't think we'll get every problem sorted out with this tree today, but steps in the right direction is good. I'm thinking I'm getting close. I'll have another look from the front. I'm out front now, having a look at the tree. Yeah, it's certainly looking better now. You can see a bit of that structure fanning out in the canopy. The major kind of trunk lines are more visible. There'll be lots more work coming to this tree in the future, but I think it's getting there. I like that decision kind of going halfway in the height. I think that's going to work out really well. Here's a look at the tree now with the work all completed for today. So it's got a lot of growing to do still, filling out areas of the canopy. A lot of branch improvement to come, but you can see the basic form is there. The trunk's looking good. The branch structure's starting to look better. And the shape of it is kind of defined. So I'm happy with it. I think by the end of next summer, it's just going to look absolutely fantastic, I hope. We'll keep my fingers crossed. It is possible the front could change on this tree as it develops over the upcoming years. I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. So it looks fairly good from all angles. I think the root base looks the best at the front. So if I can develop more coming out towards the front, I think it'll look really good. I'm happy that I was able to take this tree from tragedy, rebuilding it, into something that'll eventually be quite nice. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.